rights in India and Asia. As president of the Asian Blind Union for Asia and general secretary of the National Federation of the Blind, he champions the rights of blind and visually impaired individuals. A senior counsel at the High Court of Delhi and Supreme Court of India, he has achieved landmark judgments and played a pivotal role in drafting the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act of 2016. Mr. Rungta will be speaking on the rights and roles of persons with disability. Thank you in advance.
Hola, good afternoon, namaste everybody. Distinguished chair of this session, distinguished co-speakers, co-panelists, and above all, distinguished audience who are composed of experts, leaders, and advocates around disability rights. Before I start, I would like to thank Punani ji for his kind words. But allow me to say this, that any achievement or any favorable judgment or any favorable policy decision would not have been possible without the support of all organizations, be it national, local, regional in the country, and also without the support of friends and colleagues like Punani ji, who had been of great support for me while advocating in the meetings of Central Advisory Board. So a lot of thanks to you, and I would like to say this, that these achievements are yours and not mine. Thank you very much for your kind words again. Now friends, I have been asked to present on the topic which I believe is very well built in the theme of the conference. When I elaborate on this, I will take you through, I will base my presentation on the theme of the conference and then deliberate on the topic. But before I do, I would like to say this, that a speaker who is to speak on the rights and roles is trying to impinge on your right to have food at your regular time. So if you permit me to impinge on that right, then only it would be possible for me to do, and particularly when I am myself an advocate for the recognition and protection of rights, it is very difficult decision for me to make without your support.
Go ahead.
So, have I the permission to impinge on this right?
Yes.
Thank you for this. I will try not to impinge a lot of time on your rights, right to food. Now friends, we have been for last 3 days, 2 days and 2.5 now, we have been listening to experts, we have been having a kind of flavor that experts bring with their presentations. But now I am venturing to change your flavor and perspective. Being a leader, a disability activist, and being an advocate, both professionally as well as advocate of disability rights. I am trying to, if you have a flavor or taste for latte coffee, I am trying to change your flavor of taste from latte coffee to masala tea. And I am also aware that many of you may not agree with what I am going to say. But I am also equally aware that many of you will agree with what I am trying to say. Now friends, when we talk of rights and roles of visually impaired persons, we are trying to deliberate on the interplay between rights and duties. The question would come, which comes first? Which should precede? Because without the ability to discharge duties, you can't assume any role. And without ability to discharge duties, you cannot secure your rights. I will start in this context with a quote of Gandhiji. He says, the true source of rights is duty. If we all discharge our duties, right will not be far to seek. If we leaving duties unperformed, we run after rights, they will escape us like a will-o'-the-wisp. The more we pursue them, the farther they fly. Now what does this quote say? It says that don't run after rights. You pursue discharge of your rights, discharge your duties, discharge your duties sincerely, and the duties has to take precedence over rights. Only then you can secure your rights. But in the context of disability, do you think that this quote would fit in? The answer is for no. Why? This no is because through policy framework, through legislative framework, even through constitutional frameworks, and through the creation of built environment, public facilities, etc., we have made persons with disabilities incapable of discharging their duties in any role. We have been talking of rights, right to education. Consider, when we talk of inclusion in the area of education, consider a child sitting in the classroom without any knowledge of Braille or any facility for teaching Braille, without assistive devices required for him to acquire knowledge and learning, and a teacher teaching the students of that class through blackboard. Consider this. As a student, what is his duty? What is the duty of this blind child? His duty is to capitalize on the opportunity given to him through enrollment in this school for learning, and then make his career. Is that infrastructure making you capable to discharge your duty as a child? Answer is no. Often we talk of inclusion, treating it to be a means, and I have heard many activists saying, yes, it is a means. But I respectfully disagree with such advocates. I say inclusion is a goal and not a means. And I say that in order to achieve the goal of inclusion, you will have to deal with the exclusionary trend by taking into account the special needs and even the special programs in all areas of life, be it education, employment, or anything else. Friends, I heard today with great interest 3 presentations in the morning. And the second presentation, there were 2 stories told. Messaging plays a very important role in policy focus and policy formulation in the government. From the story of one boy, it appeared to me that we are trying to convey a message that brain is not useful. You are undermining brain. As an advocate, I can tell you that brain cannot be substituted by any technology while arguing in the court. I can tell you with authority this. So my request to you all, to those who are working for inclusion, for achieving the goal of inclusion, don't make this inadvertent mistake, unintentional mistake which you are doing. I heard also, we are trying to portray a situation that overnight we will achieve inclusion. No, absolutely not. And here I would like to bring to your knowledge, there has been a great debate while we were drafting Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act 2016. And the debate was inclusion in education versus special schools. The debate was so hot. The political leadership at that time bought unmindful inclusion without proper preparation. We fought it out, and I am happy to tell you that ultimately we won. We forced that leadership to yield, and Parliament accepted our proposal that it should be left to the choice of the children with visual impairment whether he wants to go in a mainstream school or in a special school. And that is his right. Right to choice has to prevail everywhere for all persons with disabilities. You can't as an expert impose that it is the only way you have to walk. No, absolutely not. I will walk the way I like. That is real inclusion. It is not a real inclusion when you prescribe something and we will have, as a beneficiary, we will have to accept this. I am not at all in agreement with such kind of approach. Now, when we talk of, I said that I will deal with this issue within the framework of the theme of the conference. What is the first part of the theme? Inclusion in diversity. As I said, inclusion is a goal, right? Now, inclusion in diversity means when you are trying to march to secure the goal of inclusion, what do? You will have to recognize the diverse needs and diversities of disabilities also. As a blind student, I need proficiency in braille. As a hearing impaired child, deaf child or deaf-blind child, deaf-blind child would definitely need braille and touch. And hearing impaired would need sign language. The experts in India who are great advocates of inclusion with respect are not considering the impact of unmindful inclusion, which is only leading to enrollment without any quality education. And this is not acceptable. At least as a leader in India, I will never accept, my organization will never accept, and you have never accepted. Friends, so within inclusion, within diversity would mean, in order to enable a person with visual impairment to assume roles, different roles as anyone else, as a father, as a brother, as a child, as a student, as an employee, as an employer, as an industrialist. My access needs would differ from him, and from him. You can't ignore those access needs. Then coming to the accessibility, equity of accessibility for all. Why are we discussing this topic? We are discussing this topic because we have been denied access. We have been discussing this topic because negative policies and legislative frameworks have excluded us from participating fully in community life. We are discussing the diversity because we know that our access requirements and our requirements for participating fully in all aspects of life are diverse. So these days, if you look at international, sorry to say this, if you look at any international instrument, be it even UNCRPD, what is the approach? And that approach has come down to the national level in the legislations. What is the approach? Single panacea for all disabilities. Would it serve your purpose of inclusion? Where are we heading to? In my view, if you want to demolish the inaccessible infrastructure and replace it with accessible infrastructure, both in terms of built environment, public facilities, and also in terms of access to digital world, you have to identify the specific access needs of each group of disability, including visually impaired, deaf, blind, hearing impaired, and so on, and multiple disabled, so on and so forth. And you have to respect that need and you have to provide for it. Then, if you really want real inclusion, you have to respect these diverse needs and inbuilt it in the policy, in the legislative framework. The good thing about our Indian legislation is that it recognizes Braille, it recognizes sign language as a means of communication. There is a statutory recognition, and therefore government is, even if it wants to do away with it, they can't do away with it. They have to provide for those needs. And therefore, the Prime Minister of the day has very rightly, for the first time in the budget of, I think, 2014, in the first budget, yes, of course, you are right. In the first budget of your government, our government, led by Honorable Prime Minister Shri Modi ji, who is always believed and practiced inclusion of all groups in the policies, programs, and legislation, and enabling an environment which Dr. Punani has already talked about. What I would like to say that the recognition of Braille and sign language as a recognized means of communication itself is a great service and great tool for my advocacy, which I have been using it very frequently. I know the time constraint, so I can go on this topic for hours together, but let us not venture into it. Because I know the constraints of our organizers. Friends, I would only like to conclude by making 3-4 points. One, since rights and duties are interwoven, the opportunities or making the policies and infrastructure accessible to enable persons with disabilities to discharge their duties should be the part of our advocacy. And we should all together, whether at national level, regional level, or global level, together build partnership for it. Second, through our messaging, which I said, again I am repeating, we should be very cautious in our presentations before the government, particularly. Because governments these days, at least I know of my country, they are very tempted to accept the fanciful positions without looking at the ground situation. I will give you one example what happened. Friends, there was a recent meeting, online meeting, which the Secretary Department of Empowerment of Persons with Disabilities was taking. In that, as a result of one of the presentations, I would not go on the merit or demerit of that presentation. When he heard that the students of a particular school all the students wrote 10th and 12th examination independently without the help of a scribe, he was so excited. He said that I have already issued instructions to the National Institute for Empowerment of Persons with Visual Impairment that henceforth no scribe will be given for the examination to be conducted in NIEPBD without even examining as to whether what is the level of digital literacy in the country, without even analyzing and investigating into the availability with every child or student of the necessary accessible instruments, devices, and accessibility of websites, apps, etc. How can you make such announcements? This is what happens when you make tall claims without realizing, because you are a leader of that of disability movement, and the moment you say something, they take it for granted that it is coming from horse's mouth, therefore it is true and correct. Please don't do it. You will do a disservice. I am still saying, and this is a very hot issue these days in my country, we are struggling with it. My organization alone is struggling throughout the country, and Punaniji's organization has also sought to struggle and succeeded also, I think, recently in Gujarat state on this issue of strike. Succeeded. So, thanks to him and his organization for that success. We have to be realistic. I am not saying, I am not opposing technology. The last thing that I would like to say is this, that technology is more than welcome. But overemphasizing voice output and undermining braille is not acceptable. As a person with visual impairment, as a person leading the visual disability movement, if not the entire disability movement in the country, this is not acceptable. Then again comes the issue of choice. Why do you not want to give me choice? Why do you want me to be structured in the manner you want me to be structured? Why? You don't have any authority to do that. And this is not acceptable, and I think disability movement, therefore, both at national levels, international levels, will have to sit down and thresh out by hours discussion together and considering the pros and cons of one approach or the other or combining and making it with an objective of formulating a combined approach, a consensus approach, in order to see that it is in the best interest of persons with visual impairment and other disabilities. Now friends, I will conclude by stating that our organizations at different levels have made or have laid a great foundation, a strong foundation around advocacy and policy shift for rights of persons with disabilities and for enabling enabling persons with disabilities to discharge their duties on equal basis with others. We have to work together, build partnerships in order to demolish the remaining impediments, be it in the area of built environment, public facilities, and also in policy and legislative areas. We know, as Punani ji said, we have to go a long way in this journey, but the best strategy for me would be to walk together rather than walk separately from each other. Thank you very much.